Hey, my social media family. I'm going to talk about people who've been in your life a long time or newcomers with the pretense of loving you. All of us as human beings want to be loved, but then we have to look into people. And when I say look into people, I don't care if it's mama, papa, brother, best friend, new guy in your life, past, your ex. You have to look into people and see how people are affecting you. Love has signs, and I tell people, new people who come into your life, if you are a giver, you're going to draw people who are users, who are takers, you know, and until you set boundaries. See, I had to set boundaries. I had to look out for everybody. And I had to set boundaries because it seemed like over and over and over again, the people I looked out for, invested in, somehow when it was a time that, sometimes they ask for something, then you be like, you just can't do it. And you be like, no, I ain't got that right now. And then they cop attitudes, don't want to speak. Then they want to say stuff like, you changed. And it's just like everything started getting so crazy with different people, but they have never really been there for you. And they were like, oh, you act like you can't trust me. Well, I had to start telling people, I don't trust you. I have trust issues. The Bible say trust no man. Until I go into prayer now, I have to go into prayer and ask God, should I sow into this person's life? And God told me, he told me until he has strengthened me and I have been converted, that I shouldn't be helping my brethren. I should establish me, allow him to establish me, and wait till he guide me into other people, you know, where I am to sow. And it took me a while to get it. And I was like, what did he mean? But then I recognized people look for people who don't look too deep so they can get over on them. I'm not crying about the past or about different people that come into my life. I just set boundaries now. I just tell people, look, I'm not into giving money. Let me just tell you the truth. I am just not into giving out my money and resources. Um, this lady recently confronted me. She said, well, you told me one thing about your marriage, and then you told such and such something different. I said to tell her, I said, no, you asked me some personal questions, and I didn't tell you everything. I told you a portion. I said, I told you about when we renewed our vows. I wanted to test you to see who will spread my business. I just met you. When people ask me personal questions, I said most of the time I'm just bold enough now at this stage in my life to just tell them it's none of their business. And she looked at me real strange, and I said, well, she said, I know you told such and such something about me. I said, whatever I tell such and such, I told in your face. And she looked at me real strange. I said, just because they wasn't here when I did or said something or you said something, and they got to talking, I said, we got all these people on the job. I said, just about everybody is spreading your business. When she asked me about it, I told the truth. Because if it puts a person in a position that they can get hurt, I tell them the truth. And I said, I tell it right in your face. And they all seen that. I was like, I don't go around volunteering people business, but if you the type of person who nickel and dime people, she take residents different places and she be like, charge them 10, 20, 30, $40. And one of the residents said, well, I was under the impression that we are supposed to, be taken to our appointments and stuff. I said, you are. And she said, but she keep charging me. I said, well, see if you have transportation in your medical plan. And I said, yeah, they do represent that. And from what I hear, she's charging people. Then she come to me talking about why I tell people, I'm I'm not going to lie for you. And I had to tell her, don't tell me nothing you don't want to get out there that's important. Because on my job, I'm going to be honest about what the job really put out there, what you're really doing, and I'm going to tell it like a TI is. I say, I don't lie for people. I don't cover up. I didn't know you was charging people. Somebody has mentioned it. I said, but everybody on the site is talking about you. And when the question came to me, I just told the truth. Now, if you're offended with me telling the truth, me and you our journey should end as friends. Because you're not gonna make a liar out of me because you nickeling and diming people and ain't holding up your end of the contract or your job. I said, I'm not gonna go report you because if you hurt this person or use this person to get extra money, they should go report you because you directly affected them. I had to tell her, just because somebody tell me something don't always necessarily mean that I believe them as well. I say, and then for me to report something, I have to know for a fact. I didn't see any of these dealings take place. I just heard everybody talking about how this is what you do. And I said, if this is what you do, I said, I'm going to tell you in your face. I pray you get caught. And then she going to look at me. I said, now if I say something, I say it in your face. I said, I don't care about stuff like that. I don't go out and try to make friends on false pretenses and, promote people who are users that's going to give people bad experience in life so they become bitter. I said, that's just who I am. I said, because I have talked to people, go new places, and I be believing some of the stuff that agents tell me, and they made a fool out of me. So the one thing I don't want in life is for people to mistreat me, misrepresent themselves to me till I'm vulnerable to a point to being used or hurt. And I told her, so I have a policy in my life. I'm not going to agree with that. When somebody asks me a question, I'm just going to tell them straight up. Well, this person, they have a reputation for doing this. They spoke to me about some things and they said this. I say how I perceive them, but I may not tell the person, I may not be correct, but until God confirms some people to me, I'm going to tell you to go into prayer about it. And this is what I heard. Whatever they come tell you, you can tell me because I'll tell them in their face if they lying. And so I had to tell them because she was saying, yeah, she said this about your marriage. I said, sweetie, I told her about when I renewed my vows. I don't think it's anybody's business to try to talk to me about when I got married. Because when you come up to me, why do you need to know every sort of detail about my life or what you think my life is about? I don't trust people like this. To me, those are monitoring spirits. Those are spirits sent out to give out information. And I just don't trust people like that. I mean, I don't have a reason to lie about it, but I just didn't tell her everything. But when the girl brought it back to me, I turned around and said, well, actuality, I got married first and we wanted to renew our vows. So we did it like this. And she's like, oh, and I said, yeah, we got married like this. I didn't tell her that we was renewing our vows. I was just talking in general. But I said, she only known me about a couple of months. And I just mentioned that. I said, I didn't know I had to give her full details of my life. I said, I didn't lie about it. I just didn't tell her everything. I was just talking about one particular point when we renewed our vows. And she was like, oh. I said, but if she's walking around and telling you something I told her in confidence and you just meeting her, I really just don't like how she presented things. And the lady, she understood what I was coming from. I said, I don't trust people like that. I said, it's not that I'm going to lie, but I'm not going to tell you everything about me when you first meet me. They be like, well, how old are you? And I told everybody my job, a different age. And then they came and said, but you told me this. I said, I sure did. Why? I said, because I just satisfied your ears at that point. I gathered them all together too and told them. I just brought all of y'all together to let you know that each one of y'all coming to ask me information, blase this, blase that. I said, I know a lot of scam artists that can use your birthday and get into a lot of your personal business and really steal, go into your account, steal money from you. And I was just letting you know that I'm playing that, okay. I gave everybody a different age. I'm new here. I want to know why you're all up into my business and what is the purpose of you trying to tell me or know everything about me. And she looked at me funny. I said, well, I told everybody a different age. It's none of your business. I had previously told him, I said, I don't put out all my business. And why do you need to know my age? I'm not going to date nobody on the job. What is the purpose of that? And then she looked real funny. I said, but this one particular person, she had a real big attitude about it. I said, yeah, but you want to spread this. I'm actually 10 years younger than what you think I am. I said, and I don't get off into that because I heard one of y'all trying to say, well, such and such look old. I said, but did you know such and such had cancer? I said, y'all get to have them laughing and talking about people. I don't want to be in that category. I want to turn you off because people I perceive as gossipers and keeping communication, want to get too close too fast. Normally that's a sign of somebody who ain't right. And then when you get caught up in them, I said, well, how did such and such, y'all all get together? I said, see, y'all love to keep this drama going, but my age is none of y'all business. And I said, you asked me how many children I have. And what did I tell y'all? And she looked at me. You said none of our business. Exactly. Why is all the personal questions? Why do you want to know all of this? I don't walk up to people and say, hi, how many children you have? That to me doesn't even sound right. I'm not going to sit around and say, are you married? When did you get married? And I don't even know you. I just met you. Those to me are strange questions. Now, if we was cool for a while and I mentioned, yeah, my husband has did such and such a thing, and you turn around and say, oh, I didn't know you was married, I'd be like, yeah. And then you say, well, when did you get married? How old were you when you got married? And I'm going to stand and look like this. None of your business. Why is that relevant to you? And I'm just meeting you. Child, you get to talk about the Lord. How long you been saved? Why is all this your business? And then, they turn around to one lady, she say, I don't like people who try to, I said, what, keep people out of your business? I said, well, the Bible says stay out of other people's matters. When you give me a significant reason why you need to know all of my personal business, then I have a significant reason to tell you if that's what I want to do. I said, but for the most part, I'm not going to give you my personal business. Okay? People be asking personal questions. Child, do you remember the first person you was with? And I'll be like, well, most people should. If they say no, but I just tell people, look, I don't get off in telling people all the different details of my life. I take people on my life journey, like when I post. I'm very honest about my life journey. But I tell people, especially being in a different culture than America, I am American now, but just being of different cultures. And if you raised around your parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles, and let's say they came to America one generation from you, and they raising you culturally, and they live in the environment they live in, it's like all of the same type of people, culture. I said, you have certain ways, you have certain traditions. And I said, it's just like Jewish people. When they child get a certain age, the bar mitzvah, that's what they're going to go through. And they usually relate to people in their culture because they all do it. I said, now, if they move into another neighborhood and they meet people, and the people want to know why you do this, why you wear that, why you wear that. I tell people who cover their heads, some say they Muslim, some say it's a part of their religion, some of it's cultural. And I tell people, everything is not your business. The Bible says stay out of other people's matters. And I'm a true person who believe that. When people ask me questions about other people's business, I tell people, you asked the wrong person. But when I see that person, I'm going to say, well, such and such wanted to know this about you. They asked me and I told them it's not my business. The lady on job, she get to lying about some things. And I just tell her, it's not my business. It's really not your business. And some people say, you're too straightforward. I was like, and the one person even told me, because I said, I'm going to make a video about it. And they said, you shouldn't put that on your social media. I said, why? And she said, because people won't like you. You have to pretend to be someone or have a personality that most people will draw to. I said, yeah, like a lot of these charismatic pastors and everybody walking around to my, they got church hurt. I said, I'm just honest about how I deal with stuff. And I go into prayer and let God show me who you are. But that doesn't mean when you meet me in 5 minutes, I'm going to give you my life story. I can know you for a few years, and it's what I perceive of you. I'm not going to tell you my life story. Now, if I want to write a book, I say I probably have a bestseller because people don't know much about me because I don't give them all my personal information. Now, on my YouTube page, I have many journeys because I kept going from one schooling program to the next. And, I learned a lot of things along the way. Like when I was going to school for cosmetology, then I went straight to barbering, took 6 months off, went and took my instructor's course and finished barbering. I tell people, look, I was doing hair since I was a child and I had a great liking to it. Then I went into modeling. See, I'll be honest about those things. But what I'm going to say is I don't trust everything. But when I came out of high school, I had 3 double promotions. So I had an opportunity to go to the adult education program and pick up some minor careers. They was offering manicuring and pre-nursing, which is now SENA. And I said I took an opportunity to take those courses because by the time I got ready to graduate, the last 2 years, I'd only had like 3 classes of credit hours because I used to go to summer school and take classes too. And I said, so I took career electives, which was like 3-month course, the 6 months course, and I took more than just one class. I took about 5 or 6. I did childcare too. I said I accomplished a lot of things along the way. So when people hear me, I turn around and then I come out and show the proof and start pulling out certifications. Then they be looking at me like, oh. But then when you tell people like me, I started reading at 3 and I can read anything. And I was in a lot of special programs because of I started reading early and I can count money at 3. I tell people, a lot of people don't want to believe this, but then when I start pulling up receipts, and then like one of my cousins came by, he said, I remember when you told grandma this and she tried to cheat you out your money and you turn around and say, well, I only spent a quarter out of $5. I should have $4.75. The one thing my stepfather did every day, probably when I was even in diapers, he used to count money and he taught me to count money early so I can count. So when she got to talking, I just turned around and I said, well, this is my experience. This is how God brought me up. I'm not saying everybody's supposed to do a certain thing a certain way. I said, but when you turn around and try to doubt people, I said, if you talk to any of my children will tell you I started teaching them flashcards when they was in diapers. And they started reading very early. They was talking. One lady was talking. I said, yeah. And I was shocked to see this lady's children still in diapers. And they was like 15 months. She said, well, how old do you think a child should be potty trained? I said, well, mine was potty trained between 9 and 10 months. And she said, what? I said, well, and I'm in the health profession. I said, I worked in neonatal, and I said, well, and around a lot of pediatricians, I said, well, they told me that as soon as your child is able to hold their back up, you can start potty training, and gave me techniques. I said, I looked into some things, I tried some things, and people said, let the boy go in and see his father use the bathroom. And as I had other children, they did what the other children were doing. They seen this and that. They did what their dad did, and they followed suit. And I said, even when they wasn't walking, I would put them on a pot 20 minutes after they eat, after they was able to hold it back. Most of the time it's like 6 months. And they would be like, pot, pot. That's what I would say. And by the time they was 7 months, they were saying pot, pot. And when they started walking, most of my children walked before not 10 months. I only had one child that walked after 10 months. I exercised my baby's legs. I oiled them down. I put a lot of energy into my children. And I'm here to tell people, sometimes you can't share things with people because people are very jealous hearted. You can't always put your business out. But I said when I'm on my YouTube journey, like motherhood is very important to me. And I will be sharing some of the techniques I use, because not only did I take childcare, I work with a lot of children. I seen how they helped children that came into different programs that were behind. I used them on my children, and their response was very positive with me. I potty trained a lot of other people's children, because if you ask me, I don't understand why nobody's 2-year-old is in diapers. I just don't understand it. I personally feel like, especially being around old school, I was like, back in the day, they had cloth diapers and the safety pins. They hurried up and got you out of diapers and had the little rubber pants. They didn't want you peeing on their furniture. So for me, the generation I knew, even when I was a little child, I could have been 5, 6, 7 years old. I'm listening to adults talk. They was talking about how people don't take the potty train their child. I was very, I was just determined not to have my children in diapers and not potty trained by a certain age, because the people around me, the way they talked about people not potty training by a certain age was a disgrace. So I wasn't putting no one down. And that's part of the reason I don't share information, because when you come from different backgrounds and cultures, or if you're educated in something, I tell people, yeah, I was in the medical field, but when my son was like 2 years old, he told somebody, he said, be careful of not chewing on your food all the way. And the guy said, well, what do you mean? And he said, because it can get lodged in your esophagus, and she's going to have to use he called it not he said Heimlich maneuver, but it was Heimlich maneuver, I believe it's. And I looked at him and I laughed, and they said, you raising a little genius. I said, well, when I was studying, I kept telling him as a baby, don't just swallow that. You chew your food down, because it can get lodged in your throat, in your esophagus. And I say, we can use this maneuver, and I can just give you a small thrust up under, on the top of your stomach right there. And I was showing and it demonstrating, and they all started laughing. My kids were laughing. I said, let's all do it now. And they would imitate me. So they learned a lot of things along the way. And that helped me remember even when I was studying. Because when I was talking to my children, I wasn't trying to do this and that, but those things they remember along the way. And I tell people, when you go to people that's educated or going to school, or when my sisters were going to college, they would take my children, and they showing they got college friends, they little niece or nephew. And when they get there, they had my children on the computer and laughing and showing them stuff. My kids came home with this. But if you have your children hanging out with people that's unlearned, a lot of times they're going to emulate and pick up the foolishness that they hear and see. So I was always particular about who my children hung around and who I had babysit them, And I just tell people, but it's hard to share with people. And I wanted to share along the way, because now I want to give a lot of young people parenting techniques, even grandparents, and tell them things that I have tested out that work for me. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I did look deep into a lot of things. And I married men that was of different cultures and learning their cultural ways and different things. I learned a lot along the way. So I just tell people, look, because I put on my YouTube description, I am honest about things. I want to take people on my life journeys, share with them. I have a lot of knowledge to share, but I'm not very open to the people around me because I don't feel like coworkers are my friends. I have learned being here that there's so much jealousy here and hate. And I tell people, haters gonna hate. People gonna lie. People gonna try to present you in the worst image that they can project on you to other people when they are jealous or in competition. You know, I'm not jealous hearted, but I try to tell people this is something I learned along the way. You can't tell everybody your business because they're not happy for you. Okay, you have to try the spirit by the spirit. And sometimes you won't have to tell somebody something, but you don't have to give them the whole story and see who's going to bring it back. And you pray and ask God that if this person is going out and not for your good, putting your business out or twisting it, to bring it to you. And God brings it to me. And people be talking and don't even recognize they done told me something that such and such has said they never said, they'll never talk about, and they have. And I'm not upset about it. And then when I tell them and I just check them, I say, well, I told you this, but I don't trust people. I said, this is just how I am. I say, I will throw something out there and see who brings it back and how they bring it back. And can this person tell you in your face? I will tell you in your face. So the lady was like, I know you said it. I never denied it. I said, I had to tell her. I said, everybody talk about you and talk about your business because you got a reputation of using people, lying, and people question your thing. And when I started this job, you had the residents on debit cards and stuff and EBT cards, and they talked about their monies being short and coming up missing. I said, I heard that from them. And I said, I heard it from everybody that worked in this facility, the resident, all of them. I said, now I have no proof of this. I said, so when somebody asks me a question, I'll tell them. I'll say, well, from what I hear, don't give them your debit card or, check your bank statements because they told me this person's not trustworthy, and a lot of people accused them of stealing. I said, so I don't want to touch nobody's debit card or EBT card. And I said, it's not for me. I said, look, I don't go behind people. If this person handles this for you, I don't want no part of it. I know my job, my operation, and that's where it's going to stay. I said, but I can't accuse nobody of doing anything, and they ain't going to take me to court for defamation of character because I'm going to tell them the truth. And I have did some crazy things like have my phone on record when the residents were telling me certain things and recorded it. Okay, for my own protection. But if somebody asks me, I'll say, well, such and such, they say this, but I don't know. I said, all I'm going to tell you is watch your funds because I'm going to watch my money. And I had some problems with her and seen some things that really wasn't very favorable. And the lady looked, the lady, we worked together, we co-workers workers. She looked at me all funny. And I said, and I told her, I said, it's a lot of things you're supposed to be doing. You ain't supposed to be yelling at the residents, but you do. And then you look people in the eye and say, well, I wasn't raising my voice. I was like, I recorded you. And then she looked real dumb. I said, for my own protection, because we didn't have the ombudsman and the I ain't gonna say what state, come out to the home and asked me questions. And I had to tell them she had a sister. She wanted her sister to lie. I said her sister just came down here because she got to have surgery, and she do not work this job. Because I used to work in the ombudsman office when I was young, going through high school. I had them, when I went to college, they gave me a job down there. And when I was in high school, they started me in the program, and the next year I came back and they gave me a job down there, and it was a summer job back then. And I'm sorry, I don't know what my hair doing, crazy, crazy, crazy. But anyway, so I had the was worked down there and everything. So I was familiar with a lot of things on how it worked. When you work in primary one classes and honor roll students, and you've been offered 4 double promotions and you done took 3 of them, and you started school early anyway, your world is different from the average person that go to high school. Okay, your opportunities are increased. And I had to tell her, I was like, well, I learned a lot along the way, being at the city county building and, working in the office with the ombudsman and on the accounting department. I was taking, accounting, but I ended up changing my major. And I said, I learned a lot along the way. So these people coming out here with all these questions, that's because somebody reported you. I said, but I ain't going to lie for you. And when your sister started, I had to tell her right off. Don't lie. I said, because I already know they already got everybody's name that work at this job as an employee. When they take taxes out of your money, they know everybody that work at that job. So when your sister said that, she was lying. Okay, and I turned and said, she would have got in trouble. Misrepresentation. If you're not an employee at the job, you can't pretend to be one. And she looked at me and she looked like, oh. I said, and the residents, when they go to these other therapy classes and mental health classes or the psychiatrist, I said, whatever they tell those people, they're going to make a report. They are mandated to report you on everything they say. And then she looked. I was like, but baby, I told the truth. You ain't take your proper classes. You're lying about everything. I said, I have my degree. Okay. I am a true registered nurse. I am a true registered medical assistant. I did this and then went to this program. I said, I started off doing senior then PCA, PCT. I said, I got all of my paperwork. And she looked real dumb. I said, you do non-medical services. Me, I have medical services. So when she asked me about a proxy, I was like, Miss, and I showed her my paperwork. Took her my employee file and showed her all of my credentials. And she was like, whoa, okay. I was like, I have the right to administer meds and do this job and do this and this because I am this. And so she looked at me. I said, but the lady you're talking about, I said, her sister came here and her sister's going to be here to help her through her illness because she is a live-in caregiver. I said, the lady looked at me. She said, oh. I said, but she doesn't work here. And the lady had kept catching her in lies when she was trying to say stuff because she didn't know the job. But I told her, I looked at her, I said, don't lie. I said, because they had already told people they got everything all written. And then the lady looked at her and said, she's absolutely correct. I said, so you're not helping anything. And I said, these people will put you in handcuffs and walk you up out of here. Your sister abusing these residents and stuff. I said, that can go pretty bad. They're not playing about elderly abuse. And I said, I've been trained for this. I said, I really don't care what these people do in this facility. I'm going to do my job and I'm going to do it properly. And the lady looked at me and she was like, the lady that was from the state Department of Health, she looked at me and she said, mm-hmm. And then I told her, I said, you can run in all my credentials. I said, but this stuff y'all doing, I said, y'all need to handle y'all business and stop. I don't go places and cuss out residents because no matter what they do, one, I don't really use profanity. Two, I am professional at my job. I just turn around and turn around and say, well, no, Mr. Such and Such, I know you're upset today. I need you to do this. I just want to get through this so you can enjoy your day. I also make deflect conversations that's not going positive, bring them out positively, give them techniques. And I know you can't listen to everything somebody with dementia has or Alzheimer's because they have lost in time and some of them have mental conditions outside of that. I said, you can't take stuff personal when people are deteriorating in age. We're there to be loving and caring, and I'm gonna make sure they're clean. She don't like to clean her residence. I come in, I make sure they clean. I say I do all the jobs that don't nobody else want to do, but you know what? God will bless me. I'm gonna still be about my father's business. I don't try to go out and harm her. I tell her and pull her to the side and let her know some things. I said, but as a outside of that, I try and say I'm mindful that when I make an accusation about people, that you have to back that stuff up. So yeah, I do record. I do document, you know, to cover me. I listen to the residents and I just put my phone on record and record their conversation. They don't even be knowing I be recording. And I just tell them, look, I tell the residents, and sometimes I will say, I'm finna record this. You have the right to express your feelings. And if you feel you're being mistreated, contact this number right here. You told me about such and such. I'm telling you to contact this. I don't want to be in the middle of it. But if I see it directly, I tell people, I told her, I said, I don't care if this is a family business or whatever. I will report you. I'm not going to be locked up because you're doing all this crazy stuff. I said, I'm not going to go through this. I'm not going to go to jail. Be professional. That's what I told them. When you serve a meal, talking about I'm not going to feed such and such, I go right in there, give them their plate of food, feed them, and look at her like she crazy. This is what your job consists of. You got to feed them. The police came out a couple times. I was like, well, this is crazy. So she hate how things been because I called the head boss and let her know what was going on at one point and gave her proof. So when she came to confront me earlier, I was like, well, I ain't going to lie for you. I said, people don't like me on the job. I'm here to do my job. I don't affiliate. I don't hang out with y'all. I say I be friendly to everybody. I do what I supposed to do and be about my business. So when they had asked the residents about me, they all gave me positive reviews and spoke very highly of me. I said, and I looked at them, I said, do I leave you nasty? They said, no, you always clean us up. You always empty our trash. You always come here. You're kind. You tell us what you're doing while you're doing it. You don't mind rubbing our medicine for pain on their back and different things and areas. This you help us with everything. And I was like, yes. I said, I'm not disrespectful, Emma. They told him, no, you're very pleasant every day. You know, and I tell people, I try to do things the right way and treat people the way I want to be treated, even on trying days, because God will reveal. And I'm not a type of person that you can intimidate. I just tell people, you can feel however you want to feel. You're not my God. You're not my judge, my jury, my boss. I go to do my job. And I tell everybody, people are not your friends on the job. Don't tell everybody your business, because it can come back and haunt you. But when people ask me questions, I'll try and say, well, what if I told you that and this the truth? I don't care. I said, and if I told you this, I may not have told you the whole story. How many of us have said, told somebody, well, I met this guy, and you don't mention where you met him, and you say something like, yeah, and you just tell them, I said, no, when we first met, we went on this date, but you met him somewhere else. Like, he could have been a doctor coming out the hospital, and you met him on his way out, and he checked you out, and he gave you the phone number. Now, you may not disclose that to people because people would then say, oh, she up there trying to wait at the hospitals, trying to pick up doctors or people with money. Or they may say, well, that doctor's flirty. He be hitting on everybody. To keep controversy down, I may not tell that part. I will just say, look, when we first met, we went out to lunch. He was like, would you like to go out and have lunch? And I was like, okay. And we went across the street to eat lunch. In my story, I may say it like that because I am keeping confusion down. And then they may ask, they go tell somebody else. Somebody else may have been with me the day I met that person and turn around and come back and say, well, he was a doctor. She met him at the doctor. What is she talking about? At the hospital. What is she talking about that she met him and they went and had brunch? Or she met him at the coffee shop. He may have turned around and told me 2 or 3 days later, let's meet up at the coffee shop. And I said, well, I met him at the coffee shop. I was standing outside and we went in and had lunch. I could have got there early, was standing outside, and he could have pulled up and said, hey, and I seen him coming across the street or something and waited outside the building. It wasn't a lie. I just didn't go into depth. And I had to tell people, I don't tell everything for a lot of reasons. You can work a job and it don't look good that you're going out with your boss. And you may have been going out with him and he recommended a job and you went there, got hired, but you can't tell everybody that you're involved with this person. You can't tell people everything. And then you will block your promotions because you may be just hanging out with the guy. He did get recommended a job. But then when you get promoted, everybody gonna say, oh no, she messing around with the boss. And that don't even necessarily have to be the case. I had a boss hire this guy and recommend me to a company before, and I worked there like 8 years. And he didn't work at the company, but his friend worked at this company. And when he recommended me, when his friend, I worked at his friend, hired me and everything, but his friend was flirty. And he's always saying, well, you my girl. But I was actually started dating the other guy. And they didn't understand and they started making up rumors. But it all came to light, what was really going on. And I never knew why the guy would say, you my friend. And the way he said it, they would all get mad. But we never had nothing going on. He was my friend. And the guy I was going out with talked to him and he gave me a job. And when he talked to him, the guy who came over and was talking to him, we was all hanging out. So when I went to the job on the day he told me and he did hire me, people had the wrong impression because we seemed familiar with one another, but they didn't know that he met up with us. We went out, we was hanging out, and I got hired. But I knew my job. I kept my job. But when people get to talking, and that's why I tell people, don't tell everybody your business. People lie. Things sometimes can look one way and be totally different. Like when I seen him, I was like, hey. And he was like, hey. But then when I went in and finished my paperwork, they was saying that I was messing around with him because we was laughing, And even when I left, he said, you coming in tomorrow? I said, I don't know. We was playing and he wasn't being unprofessional because we had met previously, and we was made jokes, and that was part of one of the jokes. I was turning around, I was telling them about another place I had worked to, and the boss was, we have to ask her, "Are you coming in tomorrow?" And she say, "I don't know," and we was teasing, and people took it the wrong way and saying he hired me for this reason. And then when everything came out, it really was mind blowing, and I was like, I learned to stay out of mess, and that's why I'm recommending everybody, don't tell people all of your business. Try the spirit by the spirit. Pray and ask God to reveal who is for you on the job, who is not, who you can trust. Let God tell you. And don't always tell people what God showed you. That's my advice. I'm that girl Goddess. Like, share, and subscribe. Y'all have a great evening. Bye.